Welcome to the Weekly Juice Podcast, where we discuss all things real estate, personal finance, investing, entrepreneurship, and the many ways to achieve financial independence. We interview accomplished investors and entrepreneurs with the goal that their stories inspire you to take control of your financial future. Here to get your creative juices flowing, while also documenting their own personal investing journeys, are your hosts, Corey Jacobson and Ryan Bevilacqua.
Welcome back to the Weekly Juice. As always, it's your boys Ryan and Corey here with another episode. Today we have a fun one for you. We're going to go through a personal experience that Corey and I went through with one of our rental properties.
Fun or not so fun, depending upon how you look.
Probably the least fun you could.
Yeah, I would actually the opposite of fun. So yeah.
Literally the opposite. So today we're going to walk you through an experience that we had. Like I mentioned, one of our rental properties. Unfortunately, the worst happened to it, and it caught on fire. And the long and short of the story is, it was actually due to the tenant of our neighbor. And basically, we have a duplex in South Jersey that is kind of adjoined to another property. And the tenant within that property decided during the winter it'd be a good idea to line the garage with space heaters. I believe one of like a extension cord caught fire, and then essentially the whole garage caught fire. The wind blew it over to our unit, and it just basically trashed the entire inside, smoke filled, soot, all the above. And we ended up getting a phone call, or at least Corey did, at I believe it was like 11 o'clock one night. And I was unfortunately slept through it. I woke up the next morning to some interesting texts, but I'll let him take you through.
I mean, I can kind of walk us through here. So everyone that's listened to us for a while kind of knows about our portfolio in South Jersey, that we hired a property manager within the last year. So for us to get tenant calls, it was 11:30 and I didn't answer purposely because I was like about to go to sleep. And I'm like, whatever this is, like I can't stop it, or do anything about it. Like, so I was like, I'm just going to call her back in the morning. And I was too afraid to listen to the voicemail. I was like, I just don't know what's going on. So
this is the next morning.
Yeah. So we got a call, and then I listened to the voicemail when I woke up, and it was like, oh, there's a fire. I couldn't really make everything out. It kind of sounded like she said that a tree caught on fire. So, you know, I'm an eternal optimist. So I was thinking, oh man, it's probably like a little bonfire outside, like maybe a little soot on the property, maybe a little
time out there,
burnt metal.
Time out there. So then I get a call, text and call at like 6:30 in the morning. It was like, hey, I woke up at 6:30, text from Corey that says, dude, call me. And I'm like, oh shit, what happened? I actually thought something like medically or something bad happened
with
like
me.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, dude, what's going on? You're like, I go, what's wrong with you? What happened? He goes, it's actually what's wrong with us. And I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. So proceeds to tell me about the property caught fire. We got like you said, a message from our tenant, and we actually share a phone line, and people that have partners, you probably have a line that you both can go to. So I ended up checked out the voicemail, and I was just reading it because it was like a text to voicemail. Started reading it, I saw fire, so I listened to it too, and it's actually pretty insane. But the tenant was cool enough to call us that night just to let us know. She knows we're the owners, and even though we have a property manager, she's like, hey guys, I just want to let you know, like, your property caught fire, my unit's trashed, you know, see what you can do with it. We need to get in touch with whoever. So the next day I actually work about maybe roughly 30 minutes from the property. Corey and I were going back and forth. We're like, dude, it's probably not that bad. It could be just like a little something, maybe some smoke on one of the walls. We actually listened to Coach Carson. So Chad Carson, he has a great real estate podcast. And basically on my ride down to check out the property, because I couldn't hold back, I basically had to go check out the property. It was in my brain all morning. I'm like, I can't just go to work and sit all day. I just got to go see what happened. He had an episode that basically walks you through what to do in the event that your property catches fire, every step you go through, from talking to the property manager to insurance, etc. So I listened to that, Corey listened to that on the way to work, and we're taking notes and things like that. And we're just prepping for the worst, thinking for the best, and ended up getting down to the property. And as soon as I get there, it feels like there's caution tape up everywhere. Our garage is boarded up, all the windows, the entire garage was caved in, and basically 10 times worse than what I thought it was going to be.
Completely trashed.
Basically,
like it looked like the fire was burning for like hours before somebody showed up. Like the entire roof was just blown off of half the house, not the entire thing. Sure. But so we've never been through this before. We're like, what like, what do you even do? And so our first call was to our property manager, and we had to inform him. So I'm not sure why the tenant called us, didn't call them, but we had to inform him what happened. And one of the things that's key is a great relationship with your property manager. But by the way, also caveat, neither of the tenants were hurt. Nobody was injured in the fire, which was a big priority, obviously, for us. So they both also had renter's insurance. So that is a major key there. But I'm jumping around a little bit. I just want to mention that without our property manager in the situation, we would have been so lost because there's so many steps. There's people calling you. There's like the company that comes out and like boards up your property after the fire department's there. They're calling me, trying to solicit me to like do the restoration work. I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Like, we need our property. Like, we got our property manager, and then he was one of the guys that works with him, was handling it from A to Z, which was great.
So 3 things before we go into the exact steps. I would say, just for now, anyone that owns the property or is thinking about owning property, 3 key things. 1, not everyone, but I would highly recommend a property manager. And I say this, everyone's situation is different. I know you wanted to have training wheels and do it yourself in the beginning. We would have had no idea what to do if we didn't have the property manager guiding us through things. And obviously there's resources online, but I guess maybe I would say we are just 3 things that we're thankful for. And that's what I'll bring in. You don't have to do this yourself, but we thank thank the heavens, I guess you will, every day that we had a property manager, truly, because we would have had no idea what to do. We had someone to lean on, ask questions to. They handled everything. We couldn't get down to the property every single day. They were sending people out there. So 1, property manager was key, and we absolutely were willing to sacrifice a little bit of cash flow for one of those. Second thing is have amazing insurance. We didn't know up front. Corey actually worked with a broker to get us a insurance plan when we first got the property. This was our first property together. And thinking back, the first thing that comes to your head when you hear fire, like, holy shit, did I pay my insurance bill? Like, do we have great insurance?
How about the funny story about that? Not to cut you off, but I called our insurance broker, and she's like, I don't have your guy's name down for anything. And she has all of our properties. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I can't find it. And I was like, can you check, like, and then finally I said your name. She was like, oh, it's under Ryan. I was like, okay, thanks. There's already shit in my
Had a
pants.
huge pit in your stomach. Oh my God.
But like, you know, we turned out to go off that our insurance is amazing. It's exactly what we needed, and we can go into that too. But you had one more thing that you said that you wanted to say.
Just the last thing, and it's based on insurance, is make sure your tenants have renter's insurance, because when shit hits the fan, maybe the worst case scenario, fire, their renter's insurance, most good insurances will cover their hotels or their Airbnb stays when they can't be in your property. So say if you're like restoring the property, or they can't be in there for X amount of time because of a fire. If they didn't have insurance, they would have to stay with family. They'd be out of luck,
and all their belongings done.
Everything was toast. So I just want to bring that up. The insurance piece is key. I know it's a pain in the ass paying for this every month, and you're like, oh, why do we have to do this? Insurance is such a scam. It's not. I'm telling you, we had the worst case scenario, and thank God we had a great plan. And also went back to the relationship you had with the broker, right? And
she was great.
She set us up with a great plan. Little did we know. Well, now we know what to get.
And to give you an idea of what a great plan actually looks like, so we had over $100,000 of loss coverage, which means that the insurance plan would pay us up to $100,000 of lost rent, which equates to over 4 years of lost rent as we were doing renovations to the property. So the insurance plan, just to give people an idea of a time frame, this happened, we're recording this in April. It happened 2 months ago, and we didn't want to speak about it because we're going through the insurance and we're like, we don't really know what's going on. But now that we have more informed, we figured we'd bring it to the light. But we got a check for 6 months of the rent, because we still have to pay the mortgage while all this is going on. So insurance has been awesome. And then it turns out that our coverage, it actually covers significantly more than the property is worth, the payout. So in order to determine like what you're going to get paid out, basically an adjuster has to go down to the property. And I met this guy there, and I asked him, I'm like, you know, what are you looking for? He's like, I'm doing measurements. I'm trying to figure out if this place is rebuildable. I'm not sure if that's a word, but if it's able to be rebuilt. And it turns out after he goes in there, he's like, this place is like, the fire was burning so hard on the outside wall of the place that he's like, you'd have to basically bulldoze the place and rebuild it. It's not repairable.
Hit the foundation too, right?
Yeah, foundation, all of these exterior walls and just burnt them to a crisp. Like the township wouldn't let us in the property because it was deemed unsafe. Now, when you look at the property from straight on, the left half of it looks like nothing touched it. But if you go in, everything is I'm telling you, we can show you photos. Everything is caved in. The ceilings are gone. The roof is like half off. But from the outside, only the right side of the property looks like it's damaged. So you think like, oh, we're going to have to go through the rehab process. We're going to be out a year. It's going to be, this whole thing. It turns out that they're like, this is a total loss. You'd have to bulldoze the property and start over and build a new one. And we asked our property manager, he's like, to be fair, guys, if you guys were doing a remodel, we would manage it for you. Okay, like this sucks because our mortgage on this property is like just over $1,000 and the rent is like $2,600.
Yeah,
so it's like we're losing a big asset here.
And then second thing I want to mention is how important organization is. I know some people aren't great with numbers, some people aren't good with bookkeeping. Like there's certain things that I know that are pains, but for this type of situation, you want to make sure every single thing you have is documented. What I would recommend doing is having just like literally opening up a folder, and whether you want to call it like fire or like emergency, something like that. But basically, we dumped in a copy of our insurance policy, and then we started a Google Doc with a written timeline. Essentially, this is per Coach Carson, by the way, too. He gave us all these tips, but a written timeline of dates and times you talk to tenants, what happened, when you met the adjuster, when you did all this stuff, because the company is, even if you have a great insurance rep, they're very hard to get a hold of. And think of how many claims they have on a daily basis. They don't want to give up this cash.
Right.
So you have to hound them. And to be able to have a written timeline, it's almost like a CRM system for yourself. For those in sales, you'd understand that. But timeline everything, have it documented because you're going to need to rely back on it. And if any litigation happens, things like that, you want things written.
All the photos need to be in this. Make sure that photos are time-stamped of when they happened, because you want to make sure that they happened when you thought they did in case there's any sort of like foul play or anything involved. So yeah, we created a Google folder. I wrote down every single phone call that I made that day and the time that I made it and what was discussed, because in this situation, like insurance companies are out there to make money. They're not out there to pay out claims. Now, in most scenarios, they'll do the right thing, but they're going to do everything they can to figure out, well, is there a reason we shouldn't pay this out? And we gave them no reason. Like, look, this just happened to us. And again, the insurance policy kind of went to save the day there.
Yep. And one other thing too, I would say is when you hire a restoration company, they're going to take a 360-degree view, if you will, of the property. And so you're going to have pictures of the ceiling, the wall, left, right, like things you probably wouldn't take when you initially go out there. So just make sure that you file those away and just have everything organized in this folder so you can go back to it. Also keep receipts. If, for example, like this happens and you happen to be at the property or near the property, you take the tenants out, you buy them food or you get them clothes. Like if things happen, we understand that you want to take care of your people, and something you should do, just keep those invoices, because those expenses, can be kind of, I don't know if they can be written off exactly, but it's something that you can use as a business expense versus saying, hey, this is out of pocket. It's you're helping out your tenants. It's part of your business.
Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of like how the insurance claim check process works, like typically if the property is going to be rebuilt, this is what we learned, is that the check will have your name and the mortgage company's name will be on it. So the check will typically go to the mortgage company, and the mortgage company will make sure that all of the repairs are necessary, and they'll pay out the contractor as repairs get done and draws. Some situations it's that way. The other situations it's you paying it out with the mortgage company kind of being aware, being it's that they have collateral on this asset too. You own it, but they really own it. They own more of it than you, depending upon how many years you have the loan paid off. In our scenario, because we're likely going to pay off the asset because we have no idea how to rebuild a home from scratch, the mortgage company and our names are written on the checks. So this is important to note, because basically when we get our insurance check, we have to do what's called a payoff quote with our mortgage company. We get sent the quote. We have to send them the payoff quote along with our check for them to sign, the insurance check for them to sign. They're going to pay it off and then send us the proceeds of what is remaining. So this is kind of another 30-day process that we're learning that's going to happen. But all of this is really, really useful information for us to know. I feel like I could teach a class in this after going through it.
Totally. And I think you mentioned that we have no idea how to build a home from ground up, but we do have contacts that do do know how to do that. I think the biggest thing was we found out that the tenant next door, the owner next door didn't have great insurance, where essentially I believe only like 50 grand was covered, and it will cost at least 100 grand to build up a new property. So thinking about us, we're like, hey, we don't want to build up this beautiful new property and then have a fire-ridden, soot ashen house next door to us. And then who wants to live on that block? Like that, it's just not, so it's not for us. So, we're hoping, I think our number, we put around 25 grand.
That was the land assessed value. It was basically it's basically like buying the land. We think we can sell the property for $25,000, and maybe, if anybody's out there that buys homes that are,
so I was thinking if someone listens to this,
they buy homes that they can bulldoze and build new ones on. It was a cash flowing duplex for us that did really well. We just don't have the time, energy, or really the desire to try to build something from the ground up at this point in our investing career.
Yeah, but if you do, or a contact and you're interested in South Jersey, like it crushed. It was our best, or one of the best.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at now with it in terms of going through the process. I want to talk about the adjuster though.
So, he was a great guy.
Talk about the importance of finding. Was it a?
No, we don't get to find one. Like it's a public one that gets. I think you can hire a private adjuster. I'm not 100% sure about this, but typically it gets assigned because you don't want any biases. Yep. And if you hire one, then you kind of you're paying them to give you the right information. Sure. So this guy was a public adjuster. He called me on Super Bowl Sunday. And I didn't know who he was. And he's like, hey, I'm the adjuster. Like, I don't need you to be at the property, but I'm like, no, I'm going to be there when you do this. And not to influence him in any way, but just to have humility. Just say
another reason why. Because think about when we don't go to the properties, anytime they get assessed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I wanted this guy to know that it was like, look, this is not our home, but like we cared about this place. Like we had good tenants. Like we were, in my estimation, we were helping that community by putting good people in there, good paying tenants with good jobs, and providing them a safe place to live. They were helping better their neighborhood. So I wanted him to know, like, look, I'm not like some scumbag landlord, dude. Like, this sucks. Like, and he's like, he looked me right in the eye. He's like, dude, I get this. I'm not going to nickel and dime this thing, man. Like, this is pretty bad. And there's no reason for you to like have to go through this entire rehab process when it's clear that this place has to get bulldozed.
Yeah. And I think whether it made a difference or not, it was important that you were there, because we have gone through a couple appraisals, or maybe it's just one, where we didn't show up and we didn't get the number we wanted. And then we did show up and we told the company exactly what we were looking for, and we just so happened to get appraised for that number. To it. So it's just like, you never know, but
humans. That's the thing. Like, it's not
rocket science.
It's not rocket science, and it's not like you're asking for anything specific. It's more so like you kind of get a personal touch and a personal feel, and that person may feel better. Like, again, it's the same exact things we talked about on previous episodes, where if you're trying to get an appraisal for your home, and the appraiser walks in and your home smells or it's dirty, does that exactly correlate to the value of the home? Not really on paper. But if there's a candle lit and it's beautiful and it's clean, don't you think that appraiser is going to be like, oh, this feels good. This is a nice place. It's just human interaction. If your lawn is cut, if you have like hedges trimmed, like all of those things, if the house doesn't look like a shithole, it doesn't really matter. You would think it doesn't matter based on the actual value of the home itself, but it does. I really think it does. And it's kind of the same thing in the scenario. Not that we're going to, we have no influence on a fire-ridden home, but the point is I showed up and I was like, I really cared about this place, and look at it now. And he's like, I'm not going to put you through hell. Like,
No, relationships matter, showing, like selling yourself, and just, there's something to it. I do fully back that. And I think that's why you went down there. We talked before and we were like, we got to be there.
Yep.
One of us. So let's talk about next steps. You have a fun one. Kind of your thoughts on, hey, taking some of these proceeds and trading up, and you're working on something down south.
Yeah. So along with the proceeds of the property that just had the fire, I'm actually selling my first rental property. I sold. Oh yeah, sold. Sorry. Yeah, I closed a week ago. And I can give everybody the details. I've talked about it on recent episodes, but I hadn't closed on it yet. And the whole idea behind doing this is that I put $35,000 into this property in 2020, and I was able to get roughly $100,000 out of it in a sale in 2023. So not quite tripling my money. Tripling would be, I guess, like 110 or 115, but close to tripling my money in 3 years, which is, if you can take that from a a duplex in New Jersey that brought me like $200 or $300 a month in cash flows. My first investment, I had no clue what I was doing. I'm taking that, and now I've been researching the Tampa, Florida market like very, very hard for a couple of reasons. One is a little bit of a lifestyle choice. Like, I want to be able to go down there and visit. I'm not interested in being 55 or 60 and trying to buy a home then and waiting. I have plans to be able to spend a couple months in Tampa if I want to. I likely will use it 95% of the time for a short-term rental. And the purpose of this is that I know I can get a 10% down vacation home loan and then eventually rent it out short-term. But I'm buying a property. I'm actually under contract for it. I close in a few weeks for a property in a beautiful area. And some of the reasons why I looked at this area, not in terms of like where I would look for a long-term rental property that we're going to start to buy like bigger units or, partner with other syndicators that buy units for the long term. I'm looking at this property from an appreciation standpoint, not betting on it because the short-term numbers work out the right way, but looking at it like the migration patterns that people have looked over the last 10 years. Tampa is like a top 10 city in migration patterns, and people are saying it's going to be the next Miami. Whether or not that's true, it doesn't really matter if it's going to be the next Miami, but I notice what's going on with development down there. I've been researching it for the past 3-4 months, just from virtually, and then I went down there and I did some kind of driving. I rented a car and I just drove the streets and the neighborhoods to get a real good feel. Like the Tampa, St. Petersburg area is just exploding with growth, especially for people that are coming from the Northeast. So that was part of my reason why. And then on top of that, I have networked with investors. Specifically, I want to shout out Phil Flips Houses. We follow him. My guy Phil down in Tampa is amazing. He does flipping, investing, wholesaling. He does it all. He's an agent as well. But I connected with him, and he kind of found this property for me. So that's the long and short of like why Tampa. It's kind of like a place where I think a lot of people are going to want to visit. This place is a 3-bed, 2-bath with a beautiful pool and an outdoor space and just an area that I think not only is my future family going to enjoy, but based on the comps around it, I'm seeing it's like one of the cheaper properties in a neighborhood where there's $2, $3, $4 million mansions on the block. There's also a big apartment complex, 2 of them that are getting put in less than 3 blocks away. So it's just this feel that I have for the growth of this neighborhood, and it's also a neighborhood that is very desirable for short-term rentals that people are going down to all the time. So that was kind of my decision there, but I want to caution people. It's very difficult to get into short-term rentals in really any market. And my goal on this property is not to crush it and make $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Like, I don't think I don't want to say those days are over in short-term rentals, but I just want to say that I'm very, very comfortable buying this property for myself and making, maybe somewhere between $500 to $1,000, $1,500 a month in terms of the average throughout the year. Obviously, it'll fluctuate. But to have a place to go down to, even if it breaks even for a while, I'm okay with that, knowing the area that I'm buying in and the fact that I'll be able to like use it. So that was kind of the whole thought of taking a property from a Jersey area that's not appreciating that much and flipping that money into a property that is going to appreciate as long as I hold on to it for 10 years or so.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of points here that are important. One is you're not just taking the money and buying something fun.
Yeah,
like, I mean, obviously
later in life.
Yeah, exactly. But this is for your future self. And I think it's great. You've been talking for like 3-4 years about wanting to go to Tampa, and you're just like, dude, I'm going to do it. This is the year. And bang, you figured it out and you traded up. So I think it's great. So yeah, kudos to you. It's going to be great.
Appreciate it, bro. And another factor here is that I'm 30 minutes from the beach, just to give people an idea, 10 minutes from downtown, 15 minutes from St. Petersburg. So just to throw those other factors in. But then, and real quick, before we jump into the short-term rental business, I want to say the biggest reason why I'm comfortable doing this is because I know that I have the proper reserves to do it. I'm fully aware that the short-term rental business, we're going to talk about that, is a fluctuating business, and you're going to have months that you lose $1,000 or $2,000. You're going to have a month where you gain $4,000 as long as the average comes out to running that average daily rate, the occupancy rate, running comps, speaking to property management companies that also do this. They're telling them, this is what I've seen in my properties. I know I can get X, Y, and Z for you. So all of that's important, but I'm going to have 6 months of the mortgage set aside for the worst case scenario. So I want to caution people with that. And that's why I feel comfortable having a great savings rate, selling this property that I'm selling, but not only that, and then this insurance cash that we're bringing in, like that makes me feel safe in order to make a move that kind of feels bigger than maybe what quote unquote society tells me that I should be doing at 31 years old. I feel confident in that. And then that insurance cash is also going to be hedged by other bigger real estate investments that you and I are going to get involved in as well. So we can transition. I just want to throw that in there at the end.
No, I think it's good points. I think right now, just talk about it briefly. It's because we're on the topic of short-term rentals. There's a lot of people that hit us up for education on it and also opportunities that they want to invest. A couple things. We're working on our website, so that's going to be live. Give it, I would say, a month. I don't think it'll take that long, but
I think it might be live by the time this episode comes out. We're not 100% sure. I don't think it'd be a month longer, but
great. We'll link it if it is.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, there'll be a bunch of different tabs on there with services. One of them is includes a lender. So basically, we have it might even be two at this point, but basically, we have a relationship with a lender. So if you're an investor looking for a hard money loan, there's a company called Alpha Funding that we work with, and they're awesome. They're in Jersey, but they lend in 48 states. There's we also did an episode on this, so it's a couple back. But I would take a listen to that if you are interested and you're just struggling finding lending. These guys are amazing, and if you don't go with one of their packages, they have a massive network of people that they'll connect you with, and they're awesome. So shout out to our boy Mike and Matt. So second off is we also partnered up with a gentleman who has a short-term rental property management company. Basically, it's an acquisitions company and a hospitality company up in the Philadelphia area, and then also in the Poconos. We're building out the Poconos area. So basically, long and short of it is, it's called Live Free Hospitality. We've rebranded it. I don't want to give too much away. We're going to do a full episode on this to launch it, but I did want to let you know, if you're antsy and you want to get a short-term rental for yourself, we are booming up in the Poconos market right now. We have just about 100, almost 120, so at 100 units under management up in the Poconos, and it's a mix between single families and bigger portfolio of multiple units. But the cool
some of them are A-frames, some of them are bungalows, some of them are 2 beds, some of them are 5 beds. I mean, there's really a big market for getting involved in the short-term rentals in that area, kind of for all shapes and sizes.
Sure. It's like you hear of Gatlinburg in Tennessee and the Smoky Mountains, and that's down. Obviously, that's a smoldering market, and this is just another mountain market, if you will, up in northern Pennsylvania. But basically, it's full season, which is the best. So there's skiing, snowboarding, ATVs, all that stuff in the winter, and then the summer you have lake activities, hiking, just beautiful picturesque background, and so it's for the outdoorsy type. But there's a lot of people that travel there from New York, from New Jersey, from Philly, and so we obviously, as you guys know, or many of you know, we have a short-term rental up there, which is Core 9. It's a small two bed, 1 bath rancher, but it's cool, and we're renovating now, so we're hoping it's gonna be smoldering in the summer. Then we're part of a couple bigger syndication type deals up there, a 43 unit and also an 8 unit that we're building on. And those are absolutely crushing.
They're killing it.
And they're making them basically luxury cabins, and they're sick. And we're actually talking about potentially putting up another A-frame. So we got a lot of stuff up in the works there. We have the connections, the resources. If you are looking for a short-term rental and you want to get involved and you want to get one for yourself, we have a team of agents. And then once you close, you can either manage it yourself, or we can take you under the Live Free Hospitality arm.
I would highly recommend not managing yourself.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
And we said this, we're part owners of the company and also in all the syndication. So we are boots on the ground. We kind of know the area very well. Like Rye said, if you want to get involved, shoot us a DM. For people that follow us on Instagram, that's the best place to get in touch with us, at Weekly Juice Pod. I know because you're listening to the podcast, you're maybe not on Instagram, but shoot us a DM, because we can help you find the place that works for you. Maybe it's partnering with us on a bigger property. Maybe it's getting one of your own. Maybe it's buying we had somebody that came in that we referred them, and they bought a brand new construction place that is about to hit, it already hit the market, but it's going to crush this summer because it can sleep 16, 18 people. And dude, you had your bachelor party in the Poconos.
Yeah.
I remember it was,
everything that we know has been or gone to the Poconos at least one time.
Yeah, and we think of it kind of as like, it's not a Tampa, it's not a Miami, it's not a Scottsdale, or something like an Austin where you're gonna fly, because most people aren't flying into the Poconos. They're driving from New York, they're driving from Jersey, they're driving from Philly, they're driving from Pittsburgh. The point of it is we feel like it's this kind of like getaway from the city type thing, and that's why I love it, because you live close to the city, I'm close / like the city,
out.
but like we're in the busy city job life, strapped to our phones, can't get away. This is the type of thing where we go up there as visitors and we unplug, and that's helped me significantly. I went up and stayed in our property with my girlfriend. It was great. I was just there for 2 days, but like we have a hot tub, fire pits, we have grill stations. We're putting in.
Well, these are new.
They're new.
So
yeah, well,
we've learned a lot. We learned what doesn't work and what does work. And to Core's point, we started off, we didn't invest a ton into.
This is, you're talking about our specific property, the one we own, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, our specific property. And there was a learning curve in the beginning where, you were looking at the place, you're like, okay, like we don't have to do anything to it. Kind of like his first rental. And we're like, let's just let it ride. You realize certain things hit up there, certain things don't. Some things need to be Instagrammable. People want to have that experience. We could do a whole episode on this, and we may have, I kind of forget, but the long and short of it is we upgraded the hot tub, brand spanking new. It's awesome, fits 5 or 6 people. The whole house can only host 4, so it's kind of nice. It's bigger, comfy. There is a grill pit going out back, so basically it's like this, I don't know, picture like 2 sides of a fence butted up in the corner, and you have a brand new grill inside so you can chef up, and then a stone fire pit with string lights, and then also string lights decorated up through the porch, and it looks projector.
Beautiful.
You could watch a movie from the hot tub. It's gonna be sick when it's done. So we're gearing up.
But we made those mistakes for people to know. Like, we had this property, we didn't put a lot of work into it. We probably spent like $5,000, like after we bought it, to get it like up and running, and we realized like the revenue that we were making wasn't enough. And the reason why it wasn't enough is because it didn't have the amenities. It wasn't as modern. Like, we put up, did you mention the wallpaper? Yeah, we put up like this beautiful wallpaper. We changed the decor. We're putting plants in there. It's like we want it to feel like this little mini getaway oasis type place. And I think that's really, being that we're on the management side now, that's what you need to separate yourself from the mom and pop person who was like away for the weekend putting their place on Airbnb. Those properties are not going to do that well anymore. And we're following the patterns of like travel. And in 2021, there was a huge spike in travel. And in 2022, it leveled off a little bit. I'm not sure what's going to go, what's happening throughout 2023. Everyone's freaking out about a recession, but we love this market because we feel like it's quote unquote a little bit recession proof, because there's places to go for all shapes and sizes, and you don't have to fly across the country to do it. Because, I mean, be my guest, if you guys want to come in from Arizona and Utah, like, they're wonderful places to stay, but it's kind of this mid market, I would say.
Yeah.
Not midterm, but like middle
of the pack.
Middle of the pack.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know what you mean. And I think another thing that's cool is like COVID showed that people wanted to get out and they're willing to drive. They don't, not a lot of people could fly. So it worked then. It's been working now. So we're excited. So we're on the marketing side of things here. So I think, like I said, by the time this episode comes out, there's a lot of stuff. Like, you go to livefreehospitality.com. It's already up and running. We're editing a couple of the pages. At Live Free Hospitality on Instagram, if you want to follow all of it. You'll see your boys Ryan and Corey are running that page, so it's actually pretty badass. It actually looks really nice.
It does. It looks very nice. We had like a full rebrand with the logo and everything, and we're really excited about this business. The best part about the whole thing is that this podcast is a platform to help you guys try to get involved in any way that you want to. If you want to try out the short-term rental game, we love it. It's a lot of work, but it's 100% worth it.
Yep. So that was, I guess, not too long of an episode, but that was kind of an update on our personal journey. We've had the good, the bad, the ugly. As we always say, we're willing to share that all with you guys and let you know kind of what we're experiencing. We had the fire. We're turning that around Corey's turning around into a trade up in Tampa. And then we are crushing it in our hospitality business. And there's just a bunch of other arms that are going to start branching out from our business.
Yeah.
Excited to show them.
I think before we jump off here, maybe we just talk about like what our goals are for the rest of our portfolio. We can throw it in a little bit for what we're looking to do with money that we have saved up, some of the insurance cash. We mentioned trading it up. Like, our goal here now is probably to partner with not only our team in the Poconos to build more units up there, but also other operators that we've developed relationships with to grow our portfolio. Probably our goal is to try to buy somewhere between a 10 and 20 unit property where we can own either from a GP standpoint or own a significant portion of it. So I think just to talk about like, turning that duplex in New Jersey that caught fire, like it sucks. Like it really does suck. But like our goal is to then use those proceeds, be smart with our money, and invest it well into properties that are bigger, that have higher returns, and that are more recession proof.
Well, it forces the trade up. And it's funny, we ask on every episode, like, what would you do with an additional 50 grand or an additional 100 grand? And I'm just like throwing out numbers there, not exactly what we're going to get. But it's funny. It's all prepped us for this moment where people are like, this is what I would do, this is what I would do. And now we have to decide what we're going to do for certain things. And some of it will go back to investing in ourselves as well. I think that's a thing we need to kind of force, because we're always like, let's buy the next asset. But it's like, dude, just join the mastermind you've been talking about forever. So I think we'll both be able to dip into the funds a little bit and just finally do that for ourselves, because I think it's going to help us scale. But I wanted to bring up to the point is like, we have a lot of things going on the short-term basis. So we are now moving towards back to long-term to pad the portfolio. So if you guys have people out there that are looking to get into specific deals, we're always willing to look and build those relationships, jump into things. Obviously, it's with the right people, not only running the numbers right, but we hold values really tight to the chest too. Yep. So it's got to be the right fit. But you guys know us by now. So if you have things going on, let us know. We are more than willing to take a look and potentially partner up.
Cool. So thanks again for tuning in this week. It was a kind of an episode that we knew we had to do, because I wanted to give everyone an update on what's going on with us. And yeah, the craziest thing that could happen is I guess, besides maybe your property getting blown over by a tornado, like, this is why you have insurance and this is why you do it. So I want to give people a peek behind the curtain. We're probably going to do some like a little Instagram stuff about it, or talk more about it maybe on the stories. If you have any more specific questions, shoot us a DM. Happy to walk anybody through what to do in a situation. We kind of got thrown into the fire with the insurance, and hopefully it's going to turn out okay for us. But again, nobody was hurt. So we wanted to bring that to you. We appreciate you tuning in. We love you guys as always. Subscribe to us on YouTube. That's where we're growing our platform on YouTube. Obviously follow us on Instagram. And one more thing, if you enjoy the show, it's super, super important for us to get reviews. We don't ask for this that much. I think we have 144 reviews on Apple Podcasts, somewhere around 70 to 80 on Spotify. The more reviews we get, the better guests we can get on our show. It's really, really helpful. And sometimes people just need to be asked, and then they'll actually do it. We don't ask too much. So hopefully you guys can do that for us. That would be awesome. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for tuning in this week to the Weekly Juice Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and share with friends. The more ratings we get, the more ears we'll get on our show, and in turn, we'll be able to provide you with more high-quality guests. You can also find us on Instagram at Weekly Juice Pod, where we post daily tips and tricks and document our own journey towards financial freedom. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday to get your weekly juice.